Asteroid Apophis. Revelation 8, verse 10. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch.
Apophis by J. M. Conradi continued from episode 5. Day D-5. Usually Sunday shopping was peaceful, though she hated it. Early that Sunday morning, Sheila went shopping with the list she had worked on for a week, but the list soon grew irrelevant.
The aisles were packed with people grabbing whatever they could, wheeling carts left and right with none of the usual grocery store method. It said get all the produce she could, but the produce area was so crowded she couldn't squeeze in. Skirting the edges, she took whatever she could reach. Bypassing the bread aisle, she then went to the canned goods and repeated the process, spurning nothing, getting what she could. Next was the baking goods aisle for staples like flour, sugar, powdered milk, and all the salt she could grab while other shoppers were doing the same thing. She was bumped, shoved, pushed, and once knocked into the shelving. She barely kept herself from going down. The self-checkout lanes were closed down, and she stood in line for 40 minutes before she got to the counter. It helped that some people were being refused checkout because they wanted to use either credit cards or checks. Handmade, cash-only signs hung above every register. They left their full shopping carts where they were standing, and the people still in line raided the carts to fill their own needs. Thank heavens she'd hit the bank earlier and had cash on her, because normally she wouldn't have had much more than $20 or so. If she were forced to abandon her supplies, she didn't know what she would do. She was already tense with stress and anxiety, fighting the sense of impending doom. After paying, she wheeled the cart across the parking lot, jerking it over the curb onto the grass, and reached her white Honda CR-V. After the chill of the grocery store, the sunny heat felt good on her skin. She put the groceries in the back seat because the cargo area was full of empty fuel cans, and by the time she'd finished, the chill had gone and she was beginning to sweat. Heavy traffic snaked down the highway, as well as around and around the parking lot, and she had no idea how she was going to find a way to squeeze into a lane. She saw tense, almost predatory faces turn toward her as vehicles inched past. There was no way she could return the cart to the grocery store and leave her vehicle unattended. It would be broken into and her supplies stolen within half a minute. Her heart pounded from stress. If it was this bad now, what would it be like when there actually was no power, no food to buy? The highway was impossible, so she bumped over the curb into the Taco Bell parking lot and managed to weave her way through parking lots and side streets to a gas station that sold kerosene. The gas pumps were clogged, but she didn't need gas, She was able to park next to the dumpster, close to the kerosene pump. A whipcord lean, white-haired man wearing overalls and a stained John Deere cap was at the pump, an unreadable expression on his face as he watched the parking lot turmoil. Local farmer, she thought. The old-timers like him would likely be the ones who got this area through the approaching crisis, because they knew how to grow food and how to get by without all the modern conveniences. She noted the cost per gallon of the kerosene and did some quick math. She had 4 5-gallon fuel cans for a total of 20 gallons. She pulled out the appropriate cash as she darted into the station and got in line to pay. Just as she had earlier, the station manager had stopped credit card payments. People were cussing, some under their breaths and some not, as they handed over their cash and complained that now they wouldn't have the money to get something to eat on their way home. Mostly tourists, she thought, catching a variety of accents. They were rightfully in a panic to get home, Some of them might live so far away they wouldn't make it. She kept an eye on her vehicle, making sure no one approached it. The people here weren't thinking about groceries, though. They were thinking about gasoline. Turning, she looked at the rows of shelving in the store, mostly empty. The sense of unreality was so strong, she wondered if there were camera crews hidden somewhere, secretly recording everything, because she felt as if she were in the middle of a disaster movie. No buildings were falling sideways, nothing was exploding, no one was screaming or fighting each other. But the tension and barely restrained panic were pushing at everyone. Tension crawled along her veins, and she tried to think what she would do if someone did start fighting here in this crowded store. How would she get out? Should she get behind some shelving, or duck down to the floor and try to crawl out? Would she get trampled? But nothing happened. Despite the tension, the line to pay inched forward. When she reached the clerk, a middle-aged woman whose own face mirrored the stress Selah felt, she handed over the money and said, "Kerosene. I have 4 5-gallon cans." The woman nodded and rang up the sale. Behind Selah, someone said, "I'll give you $50 for those cans." Selah didn't dare look back. She darted out the door and over to her vehicle, where she dragged out the fuel cans, lined them up, and filled them while keeping a weather eye out for anyone approaching her from behind. She'd never fought for anything or with anyone in her life, but she'd fight for these cans of kerosene. Finally, she wrestled the heavy cans back into her SUV and slammed the hatch. With her peripheral vision, she saw a man heading her way, and she quickly used her remote to lock the vehicle, securing everything until she could get to the driver's door. Hearing the beep of the horn that signaled the lock engaging, the man halted and turned away. Breathing fast, Selah unlocked the door, slid in, and quickly locked the vehicle again. She started the motor and the air conditioning blew in her face, evaporating the sweat. Slowly, she reached out and turned off the air conditioning. Mileage mattered.
With takeaway dinner, bought by credit card, for the last time that KFC still took cards, around their habitual kitchen table meeting, the family talked briefly about progress, but it was predictable, so they moved on. Let's recap what we actually have, and what not. Thanks to Mom's shopping nightmare, their everyday provisions were as much as they had space for. Their rainwater tank was full and they had several hordes of water, some unfiltered. Gas stations were refusing to fill any more extra containers, but they had a lot of gas and kerosene because they had started hoarding 2 weeks ago. They also had bicycles and 4 cars with full tanks, but only 3 carports, so one would be chosen to be hidden from sight on the back lawn. They had only 1 gun, but lots of ammunition, a crossbow set, knives, axes and iron sword collection. They had survival kits ready at every bathroom for heat, cold, bad quality air, thirst, hunger, and medical needs. If cell phones collapse, a 2-way radio set would have to do for communication. They had a small orchard of fruit and nut trees, and a mobile chicken coop, with only 2 hens, hidden overnight in a storeroom with lots of feed. They had a collection of seeds, and books about what to do with them. A collection of crucial information, on everything important they could think of, was ready for the survival storage inside a steel case that also contained the most crucial medicines they could obtain before shelves everywhere ran empty. Satisfied that they've done their best, the family slept well until daybreak of Monday, April 2029. Day D-4. In the face of growing rejection, low staff numbers and uproar over lies, some governments became too silent. Your competent and caring government apparently did not foresee a spike in fuel demands, the sight of gas stations with fuel pumps empty, was spreading fast everywhere. Soon there would be none, apparently, except in the hands of government. The area was bustling with cars, as some people tried to flee in their cars as D-Day came nearer. To where? Anyway, infrastructure in this area was already stretched to the limit. Roads would very soon clog up completely. By now there was such a crazy uproar on social media that staying informed was becoming difficult. They got better information from watching the area around them from their secret vantage point on the roof, with the telescope and binoculars. The world was going mad, or maybe it always was, the mask just slipped. Having lost all credibility, even among their own police and army, most governments had become ineffective, except for intervening on an ad hoc basis at specific scenes of chaos. Clearly, if the rich or powerful felt threatened, stern action was taken, but ordinary people were on their own. With takeaway dinner, bought with their wads of cash withdrawn over week, around their habitual kitchen table meeting, the family talked briefly and tiredly about progress. Mostly, Sheila reported an aborted visit to another neighborhood meeting.
They had no organized form of government. Okay, everyone think. While we still have phones and internet, let's contact everyone we can and set up a community center. There was one logical answer. Tomorrow afternoon, if we get hit the way they say we will, we'll meet at the school. Everyone who wants to attend can, but at the very least, each neighborhood should be represented. We need a list of residents, their addresses, next of kin, and how to contact them. That was hard to say, but had to be put out there. Put the word out. Try to get as many people to attend as we can. The people who can walk the distance should, to save gas. At the very least, people should share rides. Once we're there, we'll make a plan for the days to come. Days, she said. Not weeks and months. She didn't want to bring the panic back to those who had managed to dismiss it. We can elect a community leader at that time.
Thinking and acting in a leadership vacuum, many people were leaving for the countryside. Day D-3. They finally installed the iron frames over the baths, meant to protect them from large debris. At the hole dug in their backyard, the frame was meant to support a roof to cover key provisions underground. Basically, they were as ready as they could be. All the roads going out were gridlocked long before nightfall, after which chaos ensued. From their secret observation post on the roof, they could see the main road going over the mountain, and hear the sounds of angry people. Where did they think they were going without gas stations? The only direction in which one gas tank could get you out of the vast slum areas at the edges of the metropolis was north. And there was nothing there except moving closer to the suspected impact zone. Not only would traffic jams eat up precious fuel, it could also deplete car batteries at night. Yet everyone was doing it. Noise carries far at night, but Ian was sure he heard far-off gunfire. Day D-2. Neighborhood roads were becoming dangerous, but Ian did have to drive somewhere. Trying to find his brother again, Ian this time at least found a note pinned to the front door. Ian, we are with family. If the worst happens and things fall apart, some of us are going to go to that hidden place you suggested when we still joked around about an apocalypse. I hope you remember. I told Charlie and the Colonel, and your idea suddenly caught on. We even figured out the main water pumps. Signed, David. Well, in an otherwise useless community, it would appear there was a group with a plan. He was grateful and took the note home to discuss what it meant. Their focus of their final preparations was local. The only reminders that a bigger world exists were rumors of coup attempts in Chile, Somalia, Georgia, and more worryingly, North Korea. A highly anticipated White House press briefing was abruptly cancelled. Other worthwhile news was scarce. Nonsense filled the last stories humanity were busy with on mass media that night. Day D-1. Last night was restless, with definite sounds of gunfire and even explosions far away. Electricity went on and off sporadically, and water pressure was low in all the taps. They spent the day practicing. There was a basic set of drills: what to do the next day, what to do in case of a breach of security in their yard, what to do if they had to leave quickly, what to do in a medical emergency, how to operate the radios and weapons. Everyone had to finish reading their key survival information before it was put in the underground storage. Sheila fought back tears, but the men became very task-oriented. The next night would be a short one.
Asteroid Apophis. Asteroid Apophis. Asteroid Apophis.